I spent my entire life being the backup plan, the afterthought, the one who could handle herself while my older sister, Ashley, got everything handed to her on a silver platter. It wasn't just about money. It was about priorities. Ashley was the favorite. She always had been. She got the extravagant birthday parties, the brand new toys, the full financial support for college. Me? My birthdays were an afterthought, cake from the grocery store, a few cards, and a pat on the head. When I got into college, my parents didn't offer a dime. Instead, they told me I had to start paying them $400 a month if I wanted to stay at home while I studied. I'll never forget that moment. Sitting at the kitchen table, my acceptance letter in front of me, thinking we were going to have a conversation about my future. Instead, my mom barely looked up from her coffee. "If you're staying here, you need to contribute," she said. "Ashley got full support because she deserved it. But you're independent. You'll figure it out." Like that was a compliment. So I did figure it out. I worked extra shifts at a bookstore, skipped meals when my paycheck ran short, borrowed textbooks from the library. Meanwhile, Ashley, who was off at college with her parents' full financial backing, called to complain about her dorm's air conditioning not being cold enough. Mom sent her extra money that same night. When Ashley graduated with a mediocre GPA, my parents threw her a massive celebration, catered food, a DJ, the works. When I graduated with honors in computer science, they made lasagna. "Didn't think you'd want a big fuss," Mom had said with a shrug. That was the moment I knew I would never be as important to them as Ashley was. So I stopped trying. I moved out the second I could, got my first real job, and started saving. Not for a lavish lifestyle, not to prove anything, just so I could have something of my own, something no one could take away from me. That's why I never told them I was looking for a house. Not because it was a secret, but because I knew how it would go. They'd turn it into another family project, which meant turning it into something for Ashley. I wanted one thing that was mine, and for a while, I thought I had it. Then Lisa, a chatty coworker, let something slip. I hadn't even told her much, just a casual mention that I was browsing. But Lisa was the kind of person who loved knowing things, and apparently, she casually mentioned it to someone. That someone happened to be Ashley's neighbor. 2 days later, my phone rang. "Rebecca." My mom's voice was suspiciously cheerful. "Why didn't you tell us you were looking for a house?" I should have known then, but I played dumb. "Oh, I'm just browsing. Nothing serious yet." "Well," she continued, "Ashley and I have been talking, and we have so many great ideas for you." My stomach twisted. "Ideas?" "You'll need something big enough for everyone," she said like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "At least 4 bedrooms, maybe 5. Space for Ashley's kids, of course. And it'd be so much better if it was close to her house." I gripped the phone tighter. "Mom, I'm not buying a house for Ashley's family." "Oh, don't be selfish, Rebecca," she said, her voice turning sharp. "You know how hard things have been for them." That was just the beginning. Suddenly, I was drowning in emails and text messages. Ashley and Mom sent me links to massive houses, homes with pools, multiple guest suites, 3-car garages. Every single one was about what Ashley needed, not what I wanted. Ashley even emailed me a listing with a note. "This one would be perfect for us. We'd finally have space to spread out." That was when I stopped responding. I muted the group chat. Let the messages pile up. Let them send listing after listing, ignoring the fact that I wasn't replying. Meanwhile, I continued my real search. Quietly, on my own terms. And after months of looking, I found it. A small, 2-bedroom cottage just outside the city. It wasn't grand. It wasn't luxurious. But it was mine. I placed an offer, and after a few nerve-wracking days, it was accepted. I can't even put into words how good that felt. For the first time in my life, I was doing something entirely for me. So when my mom called and invited me to dinner, I hesitated. I almost said no, but then I thought, might as well get it over with. So I went. And the second I stepped inside, I knew I had made a mistake. The moment I stepped inside my parents' house, I knew I had walked into a trap. Ashley was already sitting at the dinner table, a smug little smile on her face. Mom was busy in the kitchen, her movements a little too cheerful. Dad barely looked up from his newspaper. And then there were the kids. Sophia and Lucas were playing on the floor, their toys scattered everywhere. Little Noah sat in his high chair, smacking his chubby hands against the tray. Josh, Ashley's husband, was slumped on the couch, scrolling on his phone like he wasn't completely useless. "Oh, good," Mom said, glancing over her shoulder. "You're on time for once." I forced a smile. "Yeah, can't wait." We sat down for dinner, and for the first few minutes, it was all small talk. Dad complained about gas prices. Josh mumbled something about work. Ashley sighed dramatically about how hard it was managing 3 kids in a tiny apartment. And then, right on cue, Mom cleared her throat. "Rebecca," she said, all bright and fake, "we've been talking, and we think we've found the perfect house for you." I almost laughed. "Really?" I said, keeping my tone neutral. Ashley beamed. "Yes, it's only a few blocks from us. 5 bedrooms, a big yard, and even a guest suite. It's perfect. For everyone," Mom added quickly. "Enough space for the kids to have their own rooms, and Josh could set up an office. And it's such a great neighborhood, close to good schools." I stared at them. They weren't even pretending this was about me anymore. Ashley smiled like the matter was already settled. "We can go see it tomorrow if you want." I set my fork down, my hands shaking. "Actually," I said, my voice steady but cold, "I already bought a house." Silence. Even the kids stopped making noise. Mom's face paled. "What?" "I bought a house," I repeated. "A small 2-bedroom cottage just outside the city. It's perfect for me." For a split second, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, they would be happy for me. That maybe my parents would smile and say congratulations, Rebecca. That maybe Ashley would at least pretend to be excited for me. But of course, that didn't happen. Ashley blinked, like she had just been slapped. "A cottage," she echoed, her voice rising. "How are we supposed to fit in a cottage?" "You're not," I said flatly, "because it's my house." Mom's expression twisted. "Rebecca, how could you make such a huge decision without consulting us?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Because I knew exactly how you'd react." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "You're being selfish. Family is supposed to help each other." I gritted my teeth. "I have helped. My whole damn life. And I'm done." Ashley's voice turned shrill. "But we need this, Rebecca. Do you have any idea how hard it is for us? The kids have to share a room, and Noah's crib is in our bedroom. It's not fair to them." I took a slow breath, gripping the edge of the table. "Ashley, I get that your situation isn't great, but that's not my problem." Ashley let out a strangled noise, like she was on the verge of tears. "I can't believe you're doing this to us." Mom stood up, her voice shaking. "Rebecca, we raised you better than this." "No," I said, pushing my chair back. "You raised me to put everyone else first. And for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself." The room exploded into chaos. Ashley started crying. Mom ranted about how I was tearing the family apart. Dad muttered something about how disappointed he was in me. Josh, as usual, said nothing, just kept eating like none of this was happening. I grabbed my purse and turned to leave. "Rebecca, you can't just walk away from your family like this." Mom shrieked. I looked her dead in the eye. "Watch me." And then I walked out. I should have known it wasn't over. The next day, Ashley started her social media attack. She posted a picture of her kids crammed into their shared bedroom, captions dripping with guilt-tripping nonsense. All they wanted was a little space to grow. But I guess some people think family isn't worth helping. The comment section was brutal. People, mostly her friends and old family acquaintances, flooded the post with sympathy. How could anyone be so heartless? "You deserve better. Ashley, what kind of sister does this?" Then came the messages. People I barely knew were suddenly in my inbox, demanding explanations, telling me I was a selfish monster. Lisa, the coworker who had unknowingly spilled the beans about my house, caught me in the break room. "Hey, have you seen what Ashley's posting?" I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Of course I have." Lisa winced. "People are talking. They can talk all they want." I grabbed my coffee and turned to leave. Lisa hesitated. "She showed up at your house?" I froze. I hadn't told anyone about that. Lisa shifted uncomfortably. I, ran into her at the grocery store last night. She said you freaked out and overreacted. That she was just house-sitting while you were out, and you called the cops on her for no reason. My grip tightened around my coffee cup. That's not what happened. I figured. Lisa sighed. Just wanted you to know what she's telling people. I was beyond caring. Let Ashley spin whatever bullshit narrative she wanted. Nothing changed the fact that she had broken into my home. And yet, despite the public smear campaign, the worst thing happened later that week. I was at work, finishing up a meeting, when the receptionist called my office. Rebecca, there's a situation in the lobby. I frowned. What kind of situation? A pause. Then, in a low whisper, she said, "It's your sister." My stomach dropped. I rushed downstairs, my heels clicking against the tile, my heart hammering. And there she was, Ashley, standing in the middle of the lobby, crying, holding Noah in her arms while Sophia and Lucas clung to her legs. "I just don't understand," she sobbed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She has so much space, and we have nothing." People were staring. Some of my co-workers had gathered by the front desk, watching with barely concealed curiosity. Others whispered to each other. The security guard looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure if he should intervene. Ashley spotted me and gasped, like I was her last hope. "Rebecca, please. Just talk to me." I clenched my jaw, barely holding back my fury. "Ashley," I said through gritted teeth, "get out of my office." She flinched, making sure everyone saw her reaction. "I had to come here. You won't answer my calls, and the kids don't understand why their aunt doesn't love them anymore." I felt a muscle twitch in my jaw. This isn't about love. It's about boundaries. Ashley sniffled dramatically, bouncing Noah in her arms. "I'm just trying to make things right. I don't want to fight, Becca. We're family." I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "You broke into my home, Ashley." Gasps rippled through the small crowd. Ashley's tears vanished instantly. The moment the words left my mouth, the entire lobby fell silent. Ashley's fake tears dried up in an instant. Her face twisted into something ugly, a mix of shock, rage, and sheer disbelief. "That's not true," she shrieked, her voice echoing off the high ceilings. "Mom gave me a key. How is that breaking in? You weren't even home. It wasn't a big deal." I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. She really doesn't get it. Ashley wasn't sorry for what she did. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't even remotely aware of how absolutely insane she sounded. And the worst part? I could already see some of my co-workers hesitating, exchanging glances, as if maybe I really had overreacted. I took a slow breath, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Ashley, you took my key. You entered my house without permission. You moved your family in while I was gone. What part of that isn't breaking and entering?" She let out a strangled laugh, shaking her head. "You're so dramatic." "Jesus, Becca, we weren't squatting. We were just getting settled, so it would be easier when you finally came to your senses." Came to my senses. Like this was just a phase I was going through. Like I was some selfish little girl throwing a tantrum, and once I calmed down, I'd realized that my house was actually meant for them. Ashley sniffled and turned back to the growing crowd of employees. "I don't even know her anymore," she said, voice trembling just enough to sound convincing. "She used to be so generous, so kind." I felt something snap inside me. I wasn't just going to stand here and let her twist the story to make herself the victim. So I straightened my spine, lifted my chin, and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "You want to know what really happened?" I gestured toward her. "Ashley stole my key. She broke into my house. She let herself in like she owned the place, let her kids trash my living room, let her husband raid my fridge." I took a step forward, and when I walked in and found them there, living in my house, I called the cops. Ashley's eyes went wide. The whispering in the crowd grew louder. I heard someone mutter, "Jesus Christ." Ashley's mouth opened and closed, her face turning red. I was just what, Ashley?" I cut her off. "Just helping yourself? Just deciding for me? Just expecting me to give you something I worked my ass off for?" I let out a bitter laugh. "And now, Because I refuse to let you walk all over me. You show up at my job to make me look like the bad guy? Ashley's expression twisted into something ugly. You're twisting everything? No, I said, voice firm. I'm finally telling the truth. Ashley sucked in a sharp breath, then spun on her heel and stormed out of the lobby, her kids stumbling after her. I stood there, heart hammering in my chest, as the tension in the room slowly faded. Lisa, who had been watching from the side, let out a low whistle. Holy shit. I shook my head. Yeah. Another coworker, someone from accounting, muttered. She really thought she could pull that guilt trip in public? I exhaled, finally letting myself relax. She thought she could win. Lisa nudged my arm. Guess she finally figured out she can't. I should have felt like I won. But 2 days later, my stomach dropped when I saw the text from my neighbor, Mrs. Gardner. Honey, I saw some folks snooping around your house last night. A couple with children. Looked like they were trying to peek through your windows. Is everything okay? I froze. My hand tightened around my phone. My pulse pounded in my ears. Ashley. I rushed to check my spare key, the one I had thought was still on my kitchen counter. It was gone, and I knew exactly who had taken it. My mother. I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. This wasn't over. Not even close. I stared at the empty space where my spare key used to be, my whole body going cold. I wasn't even shocked anymore. Just tired. Of course, my mother had taken it. Of course, she had handed it over to Ashley like it was her decision to make. I called a locksmith immediately. How soon can you get here? I asked, pacing my kitchen. The guy on the other end of the line let out a low chuckle. How urgent are we talking? Someone stole my key, I snapped. I need the locks changed today. That got his attention. I can be there in an hour. I hung up and exhaled, trying to calm the rage building in my chest. Because this wasn't just crossing a line. This was my family telling me, to my face, that my boundaries didn't matter. That my house, my home, was still just another thing they could claim for themselves. Not anymore. By the time the locksmith arrived, I was practically vibrating with frustration. The guy, mid-40s, baseball cap, smelled faintly of cigarettes, took one look at me and nodded. Family trouble? I let out a humorless laugh. You could say that. He worked quickly, replacing my locks and handing me a fresh set of keys. You want me to add a deadbolt? He asked. Yes. Security system? I hesitated. It felt paranoid, like something I shouldn't have to do. Then I remembered Mrs. Gardner's text, the one about Ashley and Josh peeking through my windows like lunatics. I gritted my teeth. Yeah, install everything. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house made my heart pound. Every passing car made my stomach twist. By morning, I was exhausted, but determined. I was done playing defense. It was time to go on the offensive. I met with my lawyer that afternoon. You want a restraining order, he said, flipping through the notes I'd given him. Yes, I said, against Ashley and Josh. And I need a legal cease and desist for my parents. He nodded. Smart move. The break-in alone gives you solid grounds. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on my chest. This is the only way to stop them, I murmured. My lawyer offered a small, knowing smile. Sometimes, cutting off toxic family is the healthiest thing you can do. I had always been the one who sacrificed, the one who bent over backward to keep the peace. But not anymore. This time, I was choosing myself. The restraining order was approved within a week. Ashley and Josh were officially banned from coming near my house, my workplace, or even contacting me. My lawyer also sent a cease and desist letter to my parents, warning them that if they continued their harassment, I'd escalate to legal action. I expected them to back off. They didn't. The first wave of retaliation came through relatives. Suddenly, I was getting messages from distant aunts, uncles, and cousins who hadn't spoken to me in years. _Rebecca, family is everything. Don't do something you'll regret. Your poor mother is heartbroken. Just call her. Ashley is really struggling, and you have so much. Can't you just compromise? Each message made me more furious than the last. Compromise? Compromise would have been them respecting my boundaries in the first place. Compromise would have been not breaking into my home. But what sent me over the edge was my grandmother calling me in tears. "Sweetheart, I know you're upset," she said, her voice shaking. "But your mother told me you're shutting everyone out. I think we need to have a family intervention before this gets any worse." I clenched my jaw. "What exactly did Mom tell you?" Grandma hesitated. "She's just worried about you. She says you're isolating yourself, that you're not thinking clearly." I exhaled slowly, gripping the phone tighter. "She's lying to you, Grandma. I'm not isolating myself. I'm protecting myself."
But
"I'm not coming to any intervention." My voice was firm. "And I don't want to hear from Mom again. Not unless it's an apology, which we both know will never happen." Grandma sniffled. "Are you sure, sweetheart?" "Yes." There was a long pause, and then, softly, she said, "Okay." And just like that, the call ended. A few days later, I got a text from Lisa. "Lisa, hey, did you see what Ashley posted on Facebook?" I felt my stomach drop. I pulled up Ashley's page and felt rage explode through my chest. There it was, a picture of my house. The caption? "It's so sad when someone forgets where they came from. Family sacrifices so much for them, and this is how they repay you." She had doxed me. My address was out there for anyone to see. I was already dialing my lawyer before I could even think. "I want to file a lawsuit," I said the moment he answered. By the end of the day, Ashley had been served with another cease and desist, along with a legal complaint for harassment and defamation. Within an hour of receiving it, she deleted the post. Then my mother called, furious. "How could you threaten your sister with a lawsuit?" she screeched. I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Threaten? She posted my house on Facebook, Mom. She was just upset." "She made me a target," I snapped. "And if anything happens because of that post, she will regret it." Mom sucked in a sharp breath. "You're the one hurting this family, not Ashley. You." I exhaled slowly. "I'm blocking your number. Don't contact me again." And then I hung up. I blocked my parents. I blocked Ashley and Josh. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt free. It's been 3 months. 3 months without a single word from Ashley or my parents. 3 months of peace. I installed an even better security system, just in case. Cameras, motion detectors, everything. I don't take chances anymore. I started a garden, something I've always wanted to do. I adopted a cat from the shelter, a little orange tabby named Theo, who now spends his days sleeping in sunbeams and knocking my pins off the table. Last weekend, I had a housewarming party. It wasn't big, but it was perfect. I invited coworkers, a few good friends, my neighbor Mrs. Gardner, who brought the best homemade cookies I've ever had. No one made me feel guilty. No one questioned my choices. No one tried to take from me. It was just normal. And I realized that's all I ever wanted. Not validation, not approval, just peace. And now, finally, I have it.